Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Town Board meeting of July 2nd, 2024. If we could all rise for the national anthem. I'm sorry, for the Pledge of Allegiance. I saw Sean Riley back there. John, would you lead us off?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If we could remain standing for a moment of silence as we remember all of those who gave for our country to fight for our independence, especially as we come on to July 4th. Let's also pray for our first responders as well as our military fighting actively now, and hope that the threat warnings in Europe turn out to be nothing, and that we all are safe and enjoy our freedoms. Thank you. Please be seated. We'll start with introductions to my right.
Good evening, everyone. Maura Weissletter, Deputy Town Clerk.
Supervisor Ed Lachterman.
Deputy Supervisor Sergio Esposito.
Councilwoman Luciana Howard.
Councilman Patrick Murphy.
Town Attorney David Chen.
Okay. So 4 reports, a couple things. Very nice time in between the meetings at the Chicola Da Vinci Scholarship Awards Dinner. They had 7 recipients awarded for their Italian heritage in the schools. Wonderful, wonderful dinner every year, and just so nice to see the young men and women that come up for the awards, and you're just amazed when you listen to what they've done to get there. On June 20th, Matt Slater held a Veterans Luncheon and Informational up in Carmel. There were quite a few of our Yorktown veterans there. I was there for a little bit of it as well, and we thank him for doing that. There was some great information that was shared with the veterans, and they were very appreciative of what was going on there. The Barbie movie has been rescheduled from last week due to rain. It will be on July 12th at 8:30. The summer reading program kicked off last Wednesday at our library. Over 2,300 people were there within 2 hours. They had 612 kids sign up for the summer reading game that day. It was blazing hot, but people came in, and it was a very nice time. And there are 3 different programs for independent readers, one for elementary school age kids, another for teens, and a third for adults. So anyone who wants to get involved in the reading program at the library, stop on over. They have some great resources there. We also had the Grange Car Show and Big Truck Show this past Sunday, was it? 2 Sundays ago, the 23rd. Time flows. It was another blazing hot day, but they had a great turnout. Thank you for all that attended, and for all those that brought the cars. They had a really nice amount of cars up there. And then the trucks that came up, and we had some volunteers from Yorktown bring some trucks up. Always a lot of fun for the kids. Seeing that 5-year-old kid climb into that big truck is just like, puts a big smile on your face. We had the Firemen's Parade last Wednesday and the Carnival. Of course, with the Firemen's Parade in Yorktown, always seems to come in some storms. We did have quite a few hit, including a really bad one that night. We had some damage. We actually really dodged the bullet on that one, but the 2 previous storms we got hit pretty hard. I will thank NYSEG for their communication, for getting things on board, and they've really been excellent at getting there. I know someone had commented on one of the social media posts about the fact that their list is not always accurate, but their list is what they go from. I can tell you that Somers will probably have better information than us sometimes, only because one of their councilmen is the area manager for NYSEG here. So they have the inside line there. But you may or may not see yourself on their list because sometimes you might not be out of power, but they turn it down so they could work on the line and then energize it back up. So at one point, our numbers were like 150. They went up to about 270, and then came right back down when they flipped the switch after they got the wires up. So you will see some weird things on that, but they do give some pretty good information, and that's what our guys are usually using, unless they're dispatching the crews themselves. And then, which unfortunately seems to be a tradition the last 2 years now, the Lions concert started this Sunday inside in the Yorktown stage. It was a really good show. The group was Probable Cause. They're a cover band from up in the Poughkeepsie area, and I got a little confused because I saw Sean in the back, who did our national anthem on Sunday. Thank you very much for that, Sean. That was a great show, though. Look forward to the rest of the Lions concert series. I think the next one is July 11th. Oh, 14th. Thank you. I'm off a couple of days. The 14th with a Don Jovi, which is a Bon Jovi cover band, for those of you that like the 80s hair music. All right. Then upcoming on next Sunday, there will be a town hall with Congressman Lawler at the Yorktown stage. Unfortunately, the stage is relegated during the camp season to only being able to do weekend events. They clear everything up on the last day of camp, so the next week starts off fresh. But usually the stage is a mess. They told us that they will have it cleared up for this one, and I believe that'll start at 1 p.m. If I get confirmation on that, which did not come through yet, I will let you know by the end of the meeting. But Sunday the 7th at the Yorktown stage, Town Hall, Congressman Lawler. It's either 1 or 2 p.m. Chamber of Commerce breakfast, which is usually the first Wednesday of the month, will be held on the 2nd, the 10th. That is at the Shrub Oak Diner. So 7:45 a.m., $20 to attend. Great for networking for your small businesses or large businesses. June 13th, we will have Lake Day at Mohegan Lake. Always a lot of fun. I believe that starts at 9 a.m., Ken? July. Did I say July? Yeah. I'm sorry. It's been a long day already. July 13th. That is Lake Day at Mohegan Lake, starting at 9 a.m. And if you get an opportunity, you could see Mr. Belfour in the back, and he could give you some more. It's a Saturday. I think someone asked what day it was, so that's a Saturday. There's also going to be, for those of you from Shrub Oak who might know, Alice Moran, a longtime Shrub Oak resident who passed away. There's going to be a tree dedication ceremony to honor her at the library. She left a bequest to the library a few years ago, and that'll be on Wednesday, July 17th at 5 p.m. Light refreshments will be served. And then we'll have 2 movies this month, thanks to the Barbie movie being rescheduled. Our Kids' Choice movie night will be on July 26th, and the kids from town get to vote on that from the camps. It's a fun thing for them, and the movies are great. If you have any children or grandchildren you want to bring out there, it's a lot of fun on the field. The movie starts at 8:30 p.m. as it starts to get dark. And that is it for me.
Well, happy 4th of July. I don't know if this is working, but happy 4th to all of you. I'm going to be brief so we can get on with our meeting. I'm looking forward to the party at Jefferson Village on July 4th, by the way. You guys are always up for a good party. Come on, let's go. Give it up. You guys are the best. I always say the best place for a party is Jefferson Village. I mean, you guys just, it's just incredible. And I love seeing all of you. So we'll see you there. I'm going to keep it brief. Great to see all of you here tonight. I'm going to move on.
Same. Happy 4th of July. And you really covered it tonight.
Yes.
I tried.
I just wanted to say I missed a lot of events the last 2 weeks. I have a little family emergency going on. But everybody, happy 4th of July, and looking forward to Jefferson Village. Okay? And a little kudos to go out to the first responders. I had to use them this week, so they were there, and it's awesome.
Very good. Thanks, Pat. All right, so we will move on to our Poet Laureate.
Time to renew our vows. On Thursday, the 248th anniversary of our nation's birthday, there will be fireworks, barbecues, beach parties. It will be well to remember the document drafted by Thomas Jefferson of Virginia, John Adams of Massachusetts, Benjamin Franklin of Pennsylvania, Robert B. Livingston of New York, Roger Sherman of Connecticut. It was the basis for becoming the United States of America. Words that have gotten us through wars, foreign and civil and domestic strife, and kept us as the United States of America. It would be well also to put aside the differences that divide us, even for one day, 1 week, 1 month, and once again reflect the spirit of the United States of America. The preamble. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among them are life, liberty, and a pursuit of happiness, that to secure those rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. Now, it must be admitted that all men was all white men, no women, no blacks, but we've come a long way since then. So, thank you.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, John.
All right, and we'll move on to personnel. So, Mr. Fine, would you like to join us at the podium? So you talk about public service, and you talk about volunteerism. We have a lot of public boards that people could join on, or volunteer boards that our public could join. You look for people with knowledge in some of them because they operate on their own, per se. They're not under the jurisdiction of the town board. We have planning and we have zoning. Now, Gordon has been on the zoning board for a short time, 29 years. And even though I've offered to triple his salary, he,
Triple zero.
he has
Take 4 times the amount.
he has decided to move on from that position. Gordon, can you just share a little bit of your experience?
Sure. You know, when I first joined the board 29 years ago, I never imagined I'd be there for 29 years. With only 5-year appointments, I kept getting reappointed and reappointed, so there I stayed. It wasn't unusual when I first started, the first few years, that we'd have meetings going to 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, sometimes later. And one of the goals I had when I took over as chairman 17 years ago was to try and streamline it, so we moved things a little better and tried to make it not such a daunting task for people who appeared in front of us, especially those people who are not represented by either an architect, an attorney, or an engineer or such. And I think we did a pretty good job. Our average meeting now is probably less than an hour, unless we have larger applications. But a lot of that is because of the boards we've had. The zoning board over the years, although the members we have now have all been on the board in excess probably of at least 10 years each, have always been long-standing members. We've always gotten along. We've always, although we had different opinions, we've always listened to each other and came up with cohesive decisions, which have given us a pretty good record, even on appeal, I might add. So I would highly recommend, if anybody wants to do a service for the town and be an active part of the process instead of just being a spectator, is join one of the volunteer boards and see what it's like to actually run government from a different perspective than watching government. And I'd like to thank the board for recognizing me tonight.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, Gordon. And I know we have his lovely wife Lisa here and some other members. Do you guys want to come up while I read the proclamation? And is that our zoning board secretary back there too? Yep.
Come on up, guys, all of you. Come on. How are you?
So just while we wait, as everyone comes up, when I was a liaison for the planning board, the meeting started at 6:30. There was one day I was coming back up from down county, hit a little bit of traffic. I got here at 6:42.
The zoning board, you mean?
Zoning board, I'm sorry. Wow. Yes, the zoning board. And when I got here, the front door was locked because the meeting, now granted it was a summer meeting, not a lot on the agenda, but they had gone through the meeting so quickly that we were already
They're not all like that.
No, they're not. They're not. I wish they all were sometimes on the longer days.
I
But
have to tell you that as the liaisons now, Adam briefs me because he says that when I come, I talk too much, and then I make them stay.
yes.
So, yeah, it's a pretty well-oiled machine.
Thank you.
Mr. Fine.
So I will read this. We have a proclamation the second day of July, 2024. Whereas a community draws its spirit, strength, and values from the concern and commitment of all individuals and organizations who volunteer their service to its residents, a strength measured in community price that has enabled Yorktown to grow and prosper. Whereas volunteering defines America and brings people together, uniting us around our common belief in the dignity and equality of every person, and giving us a chance to learn from others we might otherwise never met. And whereas the work of the Zoning Board of Appeals is very difficult and works separate from the town board, the property of citizens cannot and should not be placed within a straitjacket. Not only may there be grievous injury caused by the immediate act of zoning, but time itself works changes which may require adjustment. What might be reasonable today may not be reasonable tomorrow. And whereas Gordon Fine was first appointed to the Yorktown Zoning Board of Appeals on March 26, 1995, to fill an unexpired term, on December 17, 1996, Gordon was appointed to his first 5-year term, and on November 21, 2006, he became chairman of the Zoning Board of Appeals. You have tirelessly given your time and resources providing counsel and support to the town for 29 years. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Edward A. Lachterman, along with the town board, ask all present to join in congratulating and honoring Gordon Fine on this special occasion.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks.
He will.
Sure.
All right, guys, let me just grab a quick picture here.
Yeah, I know. Jump in there, Ed.
Ready? Here we go. 1, 2, 3. You guys.
The only time we're happy is up here.
Congratulations again, Gordon. Good luck on the next chapter. Take care, Lisa. Thank you. All right.
Back to business.
Next up, we're going to accept the resignation letter received from Deanna Peterson from her position at Recreation Assistant, Parks and Recreation Department. And Deanna, good luck in your new position. And Lisa Rodriguez, can you please step to the podium? Oh. Okay, I didn't? Okay. While we wait for Lisa, you know what, let's do the resignation. So we're going to accept the resignation letter received from Gordon Fine from Zoning Board of Appeals, and accept the resignation received from Deanna Peterson from her position at Rec Assistant in the Parks and Recreation. Can I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Now we'll start on a fresh appointment.
Okay, good.
So, Lisa, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Okay, hi, I'm Lisa Rodriguez. I've lived in Yorktown since 1991 when I moved up here from Queens. It was a big change, hearing the birds and the quiet, but I've been living here since, and I'm proud to say that my 3 children went through Yorktown High School, all of them very successful now. My daughter has 3 children who she's raising here in Yorktown. So I am sticking around for quite a while. So I worked as a curriculum coordinator in Pleasantville School District, K through 4. Was the Bedford Road School. Before that, I was a special ed teacher and a math coach in the city. And since I retired right after COVID, I've been working as a volunteer at Hilltop Hanover Farm. I'm also on their board. And I've also been on the Food Insecurity Task Force here in Yorktown, which is important that you should know that exists. So if anybody is food insecure or knows anybody that's food insecure, that's also another thing that we've been doing. But now I want to move on to and add on to some of the things that I'm doing. And I was really excited and persistent about getting on the Conservation Board. And here I am. So I'm really happy to be here. I'm excited to be part of Yorktown because this is really a town I love. So I will absolutely do my best to make sure this town just remains as beautiful as it is the day I moved here. So I thank everybody, and I thank the board for appointing me.
Well, we still have to appoint you, so.
Okay.
So-
For thinking about appointing me.
So, can I have a
I don't know, I
motion?
have 29 years that I have to go, because by then, I somehow don't think 29 years I'm going to have like Gordon. I don't think so.
You might not be wandering around the fields at that point. At least not, well, you might be, but not for the right reason.
I don't think so.
Sure, you got some babysitting in there.
So we will, can I have a motion to appoint Lisa Rodriguez as a member of the Conservation Board?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, congratulations, Lisa,
So much.
thank you.
Thank
Congratulations.
All right. And you will see us filling more and more of these board positions over the next meetings. I do recommend anyone who's interested to please go online. You can send a resume to Lorraine up in my office, and we are doing interviews constantly for some of these positions. All right. We will move on to discussions. Mr. Tegeter, you know, I was looking for you when I first came in. You sort of snuck in late there.
Good evening.
Good evening, John.
How are you?
So one of the things we've been looking at our codes. We've been looking at quite a few things that we need code revisions in. This one was spurred by an applicant coming in on something, which is a discussion on pet care facilities and the legislation, which the pet industry has changed quite a bit from when we had our code written. And as we said before with zoning, some things that work today don't work tomorrow necessarily.
That's correct. So this really for a couple of applicants, or actually inquiries, but we do have 2 folks out there that seem to be serious about coming to the town, and they are bringing what is commonly called doggy daycare, which is you drop your pet off for the day, typically. So it's not alone at home, ripping up your couches and so forth. And this is becoming much more common. And since it is an all-day thing, it's not a kennel, but since they are there all day and not not like a pet grooming, which is a 1 hour or an hour and a half situation, since they're all day, they have need of outdoor areas, for instance. So it made sense to create a special permit that regulates the activity that will be happening at this, I would say, a kind of a new use that we haven't seen much of before, except in the last maybe 10 years, and only in the last year or so coming into this town. So we wrote this special permit section, and it does have sections that regulate that you have to have people there whenever there are animals there. It regulates the manner by which you manage and operate the outdoor space. It talks a little bit about noise control, depending on where you are. In certain cases, it does allow for some overnight stays, and it speaks to that, some regulations for that, being that you have to have a right size property, and that you have to be in a single-use building, so that you're not in a multi-tenanted building where you would have people staying over with a couple of dogs. So that's what we are proposing right now. So that's
Okay.
essentially it.
So, Maura, has this been posted yet or no, online for people to look at? So it's online for people to look at. You know, one thing I do know, like we have the canine. Well, it used to be canine kindergarten. I'm not sure what it's called now. After my dogs got expelled from canine kindergarten, we stopped taking them there, and they even gave us back all our money. That's how bad they were. Like, keep them. That being said, that is a mixed-use building, though. But is that because it's a veterinarian next door?
Upstairs is a veterinary hospital,
Right next door.
or right next door. It was part of the same building.
Yeah.
So canine kindergarten, which is, it's something different now.
Yeah.
Similar-
Petopia, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Dogtopia.
Right. It's a similar use. It is a doggy daycare. But how they were allowed was by interpretation, because the section that allows veterinary hospitals, there's a paragraph underneath that says, and other similar uses to those above. So it was by the then building inspector determined that that use was allowed in the C4 zone. We think that, and the planning board did a site plan on it that talked about the outdoor spaces and so on and so forth, went through the same situation that they will be under this new law. So when the new stuff started coming in some different zones, namely C3, we have someone interested in a property near IBM. It made sense to make a standalone special permit for that and not leave some of those impacts, up for grabs and unregulated and not discussed in the code. So
Very good. Any questions, guys, or just?
No,
I see you addressed a multi-tenant building. If you have a wall adjacent to another tenant, then it's mandated that it's soundproof to the planning board's liking,
correct.
right?
Mhm.
I'm wondering if I don't know if we add some language in there about kind of like noise limits or something like that. I don't know if that's
Well, you could do it two ways. You could add
fall under this?
noise limits, but let's understand that if dogs get to barking, they could get pretty loud together. So you can add I would suggest that if you do, you add a certain soundproofing level, and there's ratings for assemblies of walls. That may be the way to do it. But what I've been told and what we've learned through the research is that in this situation, other than a kennel, or unlike kennels,
unlike kennels.
the dogs are not put in small cages, so they don't get to barking across the room at one another. They're actually interacting and are much calmer and don't fall to a cacophony of barking. So that's what we've learned about that. So we don't expect that you're going to have the same thing as you do with kennels, in which dogs are housed individually in cages or whatever.
It lends itself for them to
It
bark
lends
more
themselves
often.
to bark more often and have more anxiety and so forth. This is a much calmer situation for the dogs. That being said, we still think that it should be soundproof
And
to
it
a
has
certain
to be,
level.
yeah. It just has to be. I mean, imagine if you're, you have an office where you're selling insurance or something like that, and something like this moves in next door, and all you hear is, and the soundproofing really has to be at a high level, I think. Just to overkill.
Unless you're selling pet insurance, then it might be a good thing.
Unless you're selling pet insurance,
Yeah,
right?
there you go.
So okay. I mean, I looked through it. I like what I see. So
Is there a
I
sound-
think I don't have any other further questions.
Does our sound ordinance kick in at that point?
Yeah, it would.
Decibels
I'm not sure if the sound ordinance is usually.
outside.
Well, no, it's usually like a man-made sound, like like a power equipment.
There are
fireworks, unfortunately.
there is a paragraph in the potential sound law that talks about multi-tenant buildings and decibel levels.
Mhm.
So I think it probably would kick in at some point, but
We could reference it.
Yeah,
we'll see. Well,
we'll have Adam look at
we
that.
can look at that.
Yeah. All right, John. We'll be later on doing a resolution for public hearing on this. So,
Great.
I thank you for your time, sir.
Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Appreciate it.
All right. Next up, courtesy of the floor. Motion to open courtesy of the floor. Motion to open courtesy of the floor.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Good evening, Jay Kopstein. First, a quick thank you to John Tegeta. He prompt when responding to questions, and I thank him for it, including he responded to me over the weekend. All right.
He's usually pretty good at that.
The original Telecommunications Act was written in 1934. It's been amended several times since then. Talking about the amendment now from 1996. And I can read the actual sections of law. Section 332, paragraph 7, preservation of local zoning authority. Except as provided in this paragraph, nothing in this act shall limit or affect the authority of a state or local government or instrumentality thereof over decisions regarding the placement, construction, modification of personal wireless services. And then they list the limitations. You can't discriminate against a particular carrier. You can't discriminate and say no towers allowed in the town. You can't discriminate based on RF emissions, provided those emissions don't exceed FCC requirements. There are emissions that do, and that's low power, that's high power user equipment. And more important than that, or just as important, zoning authorities can decline particular locations. They must take into consideration the National Environmental Policy Act of 1969. Amongst other things, specifically listed as exclusions or possible exclusions: wilderness areas, wildlife preserves, endangered species, historical sites, Indian religious sites, floodplains, wetlands, high-intensity white lights in residential neighborhoods, and last, again, excessive radio frequency radiation exposure, which would be high-power user equipment. So as far as that site on Granite Springs Road goes, if it's alienated, the governor signs it, there is still significant issues that the developer can be denied use. Nobody should be saying the site is mandated by the National Telecommunications Act. It is not. It is specifically excluded. Thank you.
Thank you, Jay.
Good evening. My name is Joe Acevedo. I live on Lake Osceola with my wife Jennifer and our children. I'm here to address the ongoing construction around the lake. We all know the lake has had problems for a long time, yet construction continues, just continuing to add to these issues. The recent addition of a solar farm and a cell phone tower only increases runoff into the lake. And now the town's talking about building 250 units nearby. Where will that runoff go? Likely into the lake, just like before. You propose stormwater drains, but how can we trust this will work? How can we believe your new projects will be any different from our current problems? This construction is driving down our property values and leaving us to deal with the flooding. We're being told inspections are done, but we never see any reports. We have an email from the DOT stating the upstream properties, including Optum and the medical buildings, must maintain their areas. Yet nothing has been done in 3 years. And according to Yorktown Code, section 225-6, upon failure of a responsible person to promptly correct said offense, the town board may direct correction of the violation as provided by the law at the expense of the town and may appropriate funds therefor, and all costs of such correction shall constitute a lien upon the subject property. In other words, the town repairs the property, then places a lien on the property holder, and the problem is solved. You claim you don't want to step a foot on that private property, yet you've been trying to reach that same property owner for 3 years. According to the law, they are negligent. As such, why haven't you enforced your own town code? We ask this question in our weekly emails, but you avoid answering. We deserve a clear response. We requested a site visit to ensure there were no issues, and you mentioned in your email that you and the town engineer inspected the area and found everything to be in working order. However, just 2 days later, when Councilman Esposito walked the property with my wife Jennifer and I, we discovered significant problems, downed trees and debris, completely blocking the culvert, preventing any flow away from the lake. How is it possible that the town engineer and inspector found no issues, yet we identified the problem in under 20 minutes during a visit with Councilman Esposito on my daughter's birthday? The situation is unacceptable. We elect you to represent us, yet you turn your backs on us when we need you the most. Our medically inclined autistic son suffers the most, missing therapy and services due to the flooding. He's preparing for a major surgery, and instead of being home with him, we're here, fighting for our home tonight. This situation is unfair, sad, and negligent. We work hard, we pay taxes, we deserve better. Thank you, and good night.
Good evening, Karen Erickson. Once again, I am here to share my opposition to the placement of a cell tower within town land near the Halleck's Mills wetlands. As the property owner who directly adjoins the parcel, I feel that the town has a responsibility to ensure the impact to my property be considered in this process. As this project stands today, we would have approximately 30 mature trees removed along the border to our property, which would have an irreversible impact. It will affect our privacy, our cost of cooling our house in the summer, and the value of our home. We would go from having a shaded, private backyard to a home with a road running along the entire side of our property with no trees and direct sun all day long. As I stated at the last town board meeting, we chose our home because of the adjoining wetland and undeveloped property behind us. This project will forever alter that. In addition to the trees removed along our border, this project will also cut down an additional 100 trees, some of which are over 100 years old. While at some point there may be a proposed mitigation plan submitted for this project, there is no way that they can replace what will be removed. The loss of mature trees that are 40 to 50 years old and trees that are over 100 years old cannot be mitigated by planting an 8-foot sapling. I would like to thank Councilman Murphy for replying to my numerous emails and arranging to come and visit the proposed site with Councilman Esposito. While I was not able to be there, they met with my husband to walk the parcel. And while we can stand here and voice our concerns, until you come and see how it will impact our property, you truly cannot understand it. I appreciate that they took the time, especially Councilman Murphy, because I know you have a lot going on, that you took the time to come and walk the parcel so you would have a better understanding of what our issues and concerns are. So I thank you.
Thank you, Karen.
Now, Doug.
Doug Erickson from 54 Grand Springs Road as well. I also want to appreciate Mr. Murphy and Mr. Esposito's taking some time out of the day to come and visit and spend some quality time hearing and seeing what was going on. Genuinely, asking good questions. So I do appreciate you seeing what we are potentially going to live. I do support your proposal to have the group that performed the original cell study that sort of prompted some of this action to return and explore the current state, other options, other ways potentially to get those in town that genuinely do have a need and have expressed that to you, the coverage they need without building a tower. I wanted to, I understand that feedback has been mixed and that there have been people for and against. I want to be sure that those that are for better service understand that the tower being built is not a guarantee of any improved service, as Homeland cannot assure any change in service and can't force any providers to actually use the tower that they build, right? They are not required to install service, and often only some do. And if they do, there's no promise that that service will indeed improve the Yorktown residents' experience. I also want to make sure it's clear that Homeland's offer to provide emergency service space free of charge is not a benevolent gesture. It's actually the only way and a requirement that they must offer in order to bypass most of the wetland rules that other development would have to adhere to. So make no mistake, Homeland is not only in this for profit. It truly has no concern or obligation for improving the service of residents. It's only there to build a tower that they can rent and make money. Thank you.
Thanks, Doug.
Thanks, Doug.
Hi, good evening. My name is John Marone. I wanted to talk about 3 different projects that are before the board. One that's just beginning is the 40,000 square foot recycling facility on Route 6. There's a lot that can be said about it and against it. Several things that come to mind immediately is I think it's disingenuous to call it a recycling facility, because when you hear that, people think plastics and glass bottles and so on, when actually it's going to be a site for construction debris and detritus, and you're going to also have trucks coming from other municipalities. This is not for Yorktown. This facility is going to bring in trucks from who knows where. Ostensibly not before 6 a.m. and not after 6 p.m., but I don't know that that's going to be enforced, because you're going to have trucks coming from who knows where, and they're going to want to get in there and get out of there. So that's one major concern there. And like I said, there's a lot of things that can be said, and I know that's only the beginning stages. I'm sure there's going to be a lot more hearings about that particular one. Also on Navajo Road, there's a zoning petition, I think, changing it to a couple of very large buildings and multifamily dwellings. I think something on the order of 250 family dwellings. You mentioned before town board, planning board, zoning board. We also tend to compartmentalize, and we talk about, we have town taxes and we have school taxes. There's a Board of Education that I think needs to be considered also as a retired teacher. If you're going to add 250 units, that's going to bring approximately 500 students into the school district. Where are we going to get the school buses for that, the teachers for that? Thomas Jefferson, which is only a half a mile away from Navajo Road, ostensibly out of those 500 students, 200 could be elementary students. Where are they going to go? Where's the facility for that? You can't ignore the Board of Education, even though technically they're not under your purview, I guess, if you want to call it that. The other thing is you're talking about over 1,000 people moving in. If you're talking 250 units with approximately 4 people per unit, 2 parents and 2 children, you're adding 1,000 people on Navajo Road. Route 6 is already jammed. I live right off there. It's a parking lot. To add hundreds more cars and 1,000 more people, and that brings me to the third project that's under consideration, is 800 East Main Street, which is just off of the Taconic, which would become a senior residence of another 250 units.
John, I'm sorry, your time is up.
Okay, well, you're talking about adding over 1,000 to 1,500 people within 1 mile of Route 6.
Hello, Paul Moskowitz, speaking for the Huntersville Association. We've had a series of public hearings on a proposed ATV law since the attack on a local resident, going on almost a year now. I would like to know, we would like to know, what progress there is on that law and whether we're finally going to get something done. And one step further, if we do pass this new law, are there plans to enforce it? Doesn't do us any good if you have a law and it's not enforced. Thank you.
Thanks, Paul.
Yep.
Ken always has a handout.
Ken Bell for today with my Mohegan Lake hat on, and thank you, Ed, for announcing Lake Day. That's what I was here to do, and thank you also for maybe unknowingly, in honor of the lake, wearing a shirt the color of blue-green algae tonight. But as you said, Lake Day is July 13th, and the one thing I need from you is good weather that day for the events to take place, because they're mostly outdoors.
I'll put in for it.
Okay. This year we have events at seven different locations around the lake, which is really a record for us, and we're very pleased about that. And we have some different twists than we've done before. We start the day with a history tour of the lake, in some cases looking at what it was like around the lake 100 years ago. And that's going to be by boat, meeting at 8:45 in the morning. There are happenings reflecting the diversity of people who live around the lake. For instance, there's Thailand dancers in traditional Thai dress that are going to be doing a performance, and bagpipes and drums in another performance at one of the beaches. And we have a very different close of the day this year, although we do have our traditional Chinese floating lanterns on the lake, which is very beautiful, serene thing if you've never seen it. But we have the Walkabout Clearwater Chorus, which was originally founded by Pete Seeger, performing at the lake in the evening. And then there's a very talented young filmmaker from Putnam Valley who's done a number of documentaries. One was on the Leatherman, but he's working on a 5-part documentary series about the Peekskill riots, which refers to an event that occurred in 1949 off of Oregon Road. And he's going to be showing, as one of the final events of Lake Day, part 1 of his documentary series, and then he'll be there for a Q&A about the production of the film and the series. So anyway, we're looking forward to an exciting Lake Day, and I will be submitting the schedule to the town for posting on the town website.
Great. Thanks, Ken.
Great
Thank
job.
you.
Looking forward to it, Ken.
I guess we're gonna put my kids on a boat instead of the hike.
Hey, Howard, how are you?
Good evening. How's everybody? Good evening. My name is Howard Gould. I live at Jefferson Woods Apartments on Strang and Lee. How's everybody? I like to speak about Nature 101, who I am sure everybody here would agree that nature is very important. We are dealing with pollution. It's increasing. And at the last planning board meeting, Michael Grace made a comment that the sky is not falling. It's a saying, and I believe the sky is falling. Number one, the ice is melting. Now, it's not melting near us, but it is slowly melting, and if you look at the pictures on television, you will see that there's hardly any ice at the Arctic and South Pole, North Pole. And I did take some notes. The storms are getting worse. They said there is a hurricane early, which is it's rated 5, which is the highest, earliest storm coming. We are chopping down trees, and according to the research that I've been doing, a mature tree, one, takes in approximately 48 pounds of carbon dioxide. Did somebody call me?
No.
Oh.
Gentlemen, please.
Yeah, I don't have much time. Please. 48 pounds of carbon dioxide per year. If you put up a new tree, which is probably going to be young, correct me if I'm wrong, If you plant a new tree to place all those trees, it's going to take 30 years, even if you put the same tree in, to reach maturity. Now, they want a carbon zero, a net zero count by 2050. We're not going to be able to reach that. At least I don't see it, unless you can show it to me. But anything that affects the outside will affect the inside. I'm still agreeing with what everybody's saying. I'm adding to the
Howard,
person that...
direct to the board, please.
I apologize.
Okay.
I know they'd hear me, though. Maybe I'll run for something one day. And I think I will. Maybe I'll take one of your seats. But I'm taking this side. And maybe I'll run on the For the People ticket. No, you're all doing a good job, but please let us know somehow that you are for the nature too, and that you can see what we're talking about. We're concerned about dust. Let's not be late. Let's not lose the nature. Let's use Yorktown as an example. Thank you all very
Thank you,
much. And
Howard.
please answer my questions.
Yeah, bring it over. We love handouts.
Good evening. We met about a few weeks ago. My name is Jack Ronzulli. My wife and I live in Jefferson Village, senior community, 1,000 units. Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, cool. All righty. Start all over, or we got it from
Oh,
here?
you're all right.
No, okay, cool. Okay. I want to answer Mr. Lochterman's responses to our concerns. I have some articles proving what I am about to say in the medical field is true. We can't get more doctors. New York State is one of the worst to start a practice in. It has high taxes, high cost of living, and high malpractice insurance. This forbids doctors from coming into our area. New York Presbyterian can't fill its vacancies. It can't fill its cardio, pulmonary you have to go into Manhattan for. You can't fill the GI. My GI doctor went on medical leave a year ago, and they still can't fill his spot. Same thing with my primary, and this is all with New York Presbyterian. Okay, you said they built a hospital in Mount Kisco. Do you ever have to spend any time in there in the emergency room, in the treatment room? They have a curtain now dividing the room because of overcrowding. Where else are we supposed to go? Okay, you said people were against the building of Jefferson Village. In the late 60s, there were less than 20,000 people using Route 6. Today, 40,000 people still use that same road. We can't afford to put another 1,000 people into our area. You compared, wait a minute, you spoke about BJ's, and that would have been a problem with traffic, but you can't compare Route 202 with 4 lanes and turning lanes to what we have to face, 1 lane either way on Route 6. You stated Senator Schumer said we couldn't get help because of flooding. We had our own finances. If what he said is true, why do we have to go outside to clean the lake, fix the drainage, and help with the flooding? We don't need or want approximately 1,000 people in 254 proposed units, adding to an already overburdened medical problem, traffic congestion, and overworked police forces, besides the additional runoff into the lake. To use your expression, Mr. Lochterman, it's already at critical mass. Okay, the builder isn't doing this. He's not fixing the drain, cleaning the lakes, and building the ball field without some kind of guarantee for his 254 units that he's already got rented. I don't know this, but it's common sense. Mr. Murphy, correct? It's good business. Okay, you said this is not a sanctuary town, but We are a sanctuary county, and I am pretty sure that Westchester County laws supersede the town laws. So it's in New York City or another sanctuary area, it's just going to migrate up to us. We left the Bronx, we left Yonkers.
Your time is up. I'm sorry.
Okay?
Thank you.
You follow what I'm saying? Okay. Follow what I'm saying? Okay. Okay, I want to know, can you look? We all had or do have elderly parents, all right? God bless them. I hope they're still here. Okay? But
Jack, your time is up.
can you look, excuse me?
Your time is up. It was
My
a,
time's
it's a
up?
3-minute. Yeah, that was the timer going off.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Thank you very much. Okay.
Good evening. My name is Brian Selleck. I live in Jefferson Village, Yorktown Heights, obviously. Today is the 45th anniversary of the fall of Saigon and the end of U.S. participation in Vietnam. It was a dark time that our government took us down a dark road. And I feel that if these two projects are approved by this town board, we're going to go down the same dark road. Unfortunately, Route 6N is a state road. It's 5.07 miles long. The state is not going to put any money into that road to try and widen a road that you can't widen. Route 6, heading towards Mayapack, is single lane. All these trucks and everything else coming through, good luck. Who's going to clean up any of the debris that comes from any of the trucks? You're going to need an inspection station for the New York State Department of Transportation to pull over the trucks, check the weight, check the safety, check the tires. This is going to take time. And again, this is something that's necessary. Also, if a truck pulls in at 4 o'clock and they close at 4 or 5 to 4 because he got tied up in traffic, are they going to take the truck in and say, a few more minutes, another half hour won't matter? How often will they do that? Will they turn the truck around? Will they park the truck overnight with the refuge in it and the smell? Also, trucks with diesel fuel coming up and down hills, accelerating and decelerating the environment. We're going to have smoke coming out. Also, you look at it a little further, we need traffic lights, obviously a minimum of 3, one on each side of Navajo Road, 6N and 6, and one at the intersection of 6N and Route 6 near Mohegan Lake. The traffic lights cost between $200,000 and $500,000 each. Who's going to pay for this? The state? They're in enough trouble. The town? The developers. This is not a win-win situation. And this is all wetlands. As we go on and further on with this project, it's going to be nothing but cost the town and the taxpayers. Real estate will go down. And years from now, we'll all be regretting that we did this. So please think about before rezoning this, before making an overlay district, before approving it. It'll be nothing but a detriment to Yorktown Heights and Yorktown. Thank you.
How are you?
Hi there. Good evening. Susan Siegel. I'd like to correct some misinformation about the proposed Navajo Fields development. The project spokesman stated at last week's planning board meeting that the development would not negatively impact Lake Osceola or Jefferson Village because the Navajo Fields site was in a different watershed. That's wrong. Okay. Town board members need to check the watershed GIS map. Navajo Fields, Lake Osceola, and Jefferson Village are in the same watershed. Let me know if you need a GIS map, and I'll gladly send you a copy. The spokesman also gave the impression that bringing a sewer line along East Main Street would somehow alleviate the stormwater runoff from the hill that is polluting the lake. The sewer line has nothing to do with stormwater or the septic discharges from the houses on the hill. According to the spokesman, the compelling reason why the town board should expand the Lake Osceola Overlay District is to and include the Navajo Field site is the sewer line that the developer will construct, which will be the key to revitalizing the Jefferson Valley hamlet. In that regard, I urge the town board, especially the 3 members who were not on the board when the overlay district was adopted, to read the environmental assessment report that was done before the district was created. Supervisor Lachman, you were on the board at that time, but you may want to refresh your memory. The report that was done by one of Westchester's leading planning firms concluded that due to environmental constraints, the amount of new commercial development in the Jefferson Valley corridor is very limited, even with sewers. In fact, the report concluded that with sewers, there would actually be a decrease in the amount of commercial development. And the vacant parcel that is the most suitable one for development, the old beach property, already has the ability to directly hook up to the sewer line at Hill Boulevard. The property owner doesn't need the sewer line coming down from 6N, especially since that sewer line isn't likely to generate very much other commercial development. When you look at the facts, the hard facts, it's obvious that the sewer line is not a compelling reason to extend the Osceola Overlay District to include the Navajo Fields project. I have some comments regarding 3 items on the agenda, resolutions. 1, can you explain why La Bella has been hired to review building plans for 2 developments, something that's always been done by the building department staff? Second, why did you drop the resolution in the tentative agenda to hire general code for $16,000 to review the town code? Hopefully you came to the realization that the town reviewing and revising town codes is a job for department heads, not general code, which functions only and simply as a document manager, not to write codes. Third, the bid award for the Stony Street improvements, please confirm that Walgreens will be, which is constructing the building, will pay the full cost of that intersection. Thank you.
Good evening, Sarah Wilson. Today I'm wearing my Yorktown 100 hat. I know several people talked about the value of trees in the environment. So Yorktown 100, as you know, is a Yorktown-focused environmental organization interested in educating the residents about how to reduce their greenhouse emissions, reduce their carbon footprint. We've had columns in the Yorktown News. We've held a variety of events, including most recently Climate Change Bingo a couple of months ago at the Mahansa Grill. Tonight, I'm here to invite all of you and our residents to visit our annual electric vehicle show, held in conjunction with the very popular Lions Club free concerts at Jack DeVito Veterans Memorial Field and Track. The next concert is Sunday, July 14th. That's when, weather permitting, our EV show will be taking place as well from 5 to 7:30. It's a great opportunity to speak to ordinary people, your neighbors who own EVs, and get, straight information, answer your questions. And in addition to cars, we'll have a variety of e-bikes. My over 65 husband, who's scheduled for knee replacement surgery this month, is still able to bike every day using his pedal assist e-bike, all around Yorktown. So you'll have a chance to learn about e-bikes. We had a lot of public hearings and discussion about the differences between different types of electric powered bikes. So this is a great opportunity to see and learn, and then have a great night out with Don Jovi and the band. So, and if you're already an EV owner, just contact Yorktown 100 if you want to show off your vehicle or your bike. Thank you very much.
Thanks, sir.
Dan Strauss, 58-year resident. We don't need a transfer station in Yorktown. We don't need a cell tower where that proposed cell tower is. There is no code enforcement in the town of Yorktown, and there hasn't been for the 8 years that I've been talking here at town board meetings and gone to planning board meetings. I said it last week, and I'll say it again. And the only reason that some things get changed occasionally, like in the center of town, is when I say something and somebody reacts. That's it. Lawler's sign is not there now, all of a sudden. You've heard all of these arguments, not maybe Mr. Murphy, because you're just new to the board, but all of you have heard the arguments. You've cut down trees, hundreds, thousands of trees have been cut down over the last few years. We're a tree city. You've heard all of the arguments from the people here. You heard them with Underhill Farm, 18 meetings. You know exactly what's going on. You know everything that is going on. It's the same thing repeated, Underhill Farm over to Jefferson Valley. It's all tied in with the overlay district. The overlay district trumps everything. That's why it was put in for Underhill Farm. From what I understand now, the boutique hotel, if I'm not mistaken, the property is up for sale. I understand that. So that means they're not going to build a boutique hotel. Not under that owner, but he's going to make more money if he sells it. So the whole deal is this going to get built? Who knows? It's all tied in with overlay. He wants the overlay. The same attorney wants the overlay. Sure enough, because he wants 254 units, and you can reply all you want. Everything is out in the open. You know everything. You know all the arguments. There's nothing new that the people are going to say or I'm going to say. It's whether you want to do it or not do it, any of this, and it's tied in, unfortunately for me, with a political block. That's what determines, because if this political block was at Underhill Farm, that probably wouldn't have gone through. Thank you very much.
That's a hard act to follow. Hi, I'm Charles O'Neill, President Jefferson Village. If you Google Yorktown Heights, New York, it's described as a great community with a small town feeling. Excellent schools and police force. This is a safe and quiet place to raise children. Yorktown is a calm hamlet with little or no noise at all. The market value of Jefferson Village condo per 55place.com ranges from mid 100,000 to 600,000, depending on the square footage. At the present, the market value of our condos is on a high scale. Will that continue? Google neighborhood features state some of the factors that decrease the home value and noise pollution. Air pollution, land element. Every piece of real estate development has an impact on the ecosystems, such as the current land use patterns and adjacent development, local pollution, per turf factory direct, waste management, and recycling centers lower the property values. People do not want to live near unpleasant sounds and smells. Jefferson Village 10 and 11 are the closest to Route 6. If the values of these condos decrease, it will have a domino effect on the neighboring homes. Jefferson Village is a 55-plus community, 1,000 units, and the median age is 70 to 75. Prospective buyers, that doesn't include me. Prospective buyers look at the quality of life, accessibility to stores, churches, and medical care. Do you think they would purchase a home in Jefferson Village when the main road is congested with cars and recycling trucks? The response time for 9/11 emergency care will also be delayed. I asked the board, do you want Yorktown Heights to be described when Googled if this 254 unit development and recycling center proposal is voted yes by you? Will it continue to be a community with a small town feeling? A calm community with little or no noise. It's up to you guys to make that decision. Everything, the buck stops here at that table. So, thank you, guys.
Good evening. My name is Mark Quillinan. I'm here about the transfer station. We all say transfer station, recyclable transfer station. Transfer station, you're taking dumpsters, you're putting it on the ground, you're taking bulldozers, and you're crushing this material and reloading it onto trucks. How do you stop the dirt, the dust? You water it down. Where does the water go? Down the streams. Where do the streams go? Osceola. Lake Osceola. So that's one big thing. Besides that, the amount of trucks that will be going into this. I used to dump mine over in Somers. The recyclable. This is a transfer station. The amount of dirt that came from these trucks, from the dirt roads. But the other question is, Yorktown is in the center. Your major highways to get all this waste together. Now you have to get the waste on these 40-yard trucks to a major highway to ship out to Pennsylvania. Where are we going? Mayapack? Peekskill? There's no major roads around. So why would we accept it? I applaud to the board. Please say no.
Betty Amico, Jefferson Village. Most of what I want to say has already been said, but regarding the so-called recycling facility, transfer station, it's not going to be a recycling facility. We have one in Somers 6 miles away. There's a commingle plant in Tarrytown. We don't need paper, plastic, recycling where they want to put it. The construction debris, stone crushing, is not going to be indoors, it's going to be outdoors. The landscaping and bulk material recycling, I don't know how they're going to handle that. We don't need it here, we don't want it here. There are other facilities that can take care of the paper and the recycling. Stone crushing, let it go somewhere else. It's going to be, as the gentleman just said, smoke-filled in the air. There's million-dollar homes behind Whispering Pines. They're going to hear the noise, we're going to hear the noise, and we're going to get the cloud that comes over our village. So we don't need the facility in Yorktown. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Betty.
Hello, guys.
Hello.
I'm going to read the letter to the members here. This is a letter that I wrote to the town clerk.
If we could ask you to, introduce yourself, and then all your comments need to be directed to the board.
Jean Troiano,
Thanks, Jean.
Jefferson Village. On the letter that I sent to the town board, the first paragraph is the original. The second paragraph, I made a slight change in the letter that I sent to you guys because you had, or someone had mentioned that the numbers weren't that high for the students. Rather than argue it, I'm just going to read this. Dear Town Clerk Diana Quest, it is with deep concern that I write regarding the 254, sorry about this, 254 housing units being considered for the Whispering Pines location in Yorktown. Although there are many things being considered, this latest town board supported betrayal of the public trust headed by former supervisor Mike Grace would affect the seniors, homeowners, and all Yorktown taxpayers. Traffic abatements extended to the builders, and other perks they get will be paid for by we the taxpayers. I will address some of the many concerns we see coming our way. Putting 254 units into our school district will result in additional students to our school budget. Higher taxes to pay for more buses, more gas to keep them running, insurance to protect the children on the buses, more drivers, their salaries, benefits, monitors to ride the buses, their salary, benefits, pensions, health coverage, teachers' aides with financial perks to assist non-English speaking students. The impact it will have on Yorktown will be devastating to all, especially fixed income seniors. Who will benefit from this? Not regular citizens. Perhaps the people we elected to office who, with this action, are letting us down. We will let down at the next election.
Good evening, members of the board, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, the supervisor doesn't want me to acknowledge. Joanne Sillick, Jefferson Village. Regarding Yorktown's sanctuary status, in 2018, the board voted 3-2 to remain in sanctuary Westchester County. Supervisor, you were on the board at the time. The planning board meeting last week was a real eye-opener. Learning the crucial vote at this critical time rests with the town board. Your constituents do not want you to amend the law, allowing 254 units to be built in the overlay district. And for these reasons. Environmental impact. The Conservation Board, and now you have a new addition, I understand, opposes the project, stating, and I quote, "The adverse environmental impacts have not been adequately addressed, and we do not support the rezoning." I hope you take their advice. It's your advisory board. Traffic study. When your expert concludes his study, which looks great on paper, but is it plausible with an extra 500 cars? Can you make a 2-lane road a 4-lane highway with no space to build it? Will the crowded parking lots get any bigger with no space to make them bigger? Will traffic lights make all these problems disappear? Schools, there will be an increase of about 500 students. And we haven't mentioned this evening. The Yorktown School District spends almost $26,000 per child per year. Multiply that by 500. Who's going to pay for that? I think we all know. Sewers. At the planning board, Mr. Grace said the developer would put in sewers at no cost to the town. Sounds great, but what is the cost to hook up? Anywhere from $10,000 per home, and if your home is in the valley, up to $30,000 per home. I didn't pick these numbers from the sky. These numbers came from licensed plumbers who do this for a living. Mr. Grace also said this project would revitalize the 6-end corridor. How? Maybe the town should concentrate on how to prevent flooding from Osceola Lake. Those residents would very much appreciate that being revitalized. We hope you do not amend the law. You don't want to go down as the board whose legacy is the destruction of our suburban way of life for generations to come. Please, think hard before making an irreversible decision. It's in your hands. The buck stops with you. It can be stopped immediately. Do not vote on amending that law. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Jack Stoltz. I live in Jefferson Village, and I'm not here to reiterate all the stuff that you're probably going to go to sleep hearing all this stuff over and over again. I'd like to point one thing out. Charlie O'Neill, who's wonderful president for Jefferson Village, is thinking about retiring. I didn't think that was a secret, but okay. There are two people running for his seat, myself and Dwayne Simmons, who's there in the back. I just want to let you know that if Charlie decides to retire, Dwayne, I think I'm speaking for Dwayne also, that him or I will pick up the banner and go just what Charlie's saying, and you won't get a breath in between him, because one of us will be right behind him doing the same thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Jack.
Good evening. My name is Michael Kiernan, 2 Brianna Lane, Yorktown Heights, New York, Somers Municipality. I have some questions tonight, and hopefully you can point me in the right direction. Upon reviewing the June 27th zoning board meeting, through the video, my understanding is that the HRAC is seeking 101 foot variance distance from the Somers R80 residential zone. And during that, there was a referral to that request to the Yorktown Building Department, Conservation Board, and Planning Board, the Town of Somers, Westchester County Planning, the New York State DEC, New York State DOT, and in addition, the Zoning Board of Appeals will conduct a site visit and public hearing. Just not for now or not for tonight, just a high-level understanding of what each of those entities do would be helpful for me.
Okay.
Hi. The June 24th, 2024 Planning Board agenda indicated that the HRAC transfer station and garbage truck fleet parking facility was to discuss the site plan and special use permit. I wasn't able to ascertain the details about the transfer station accessory storage that would require a special use permit. It would be good to have more information on that. I must reiterate that my neighbors and I are active members of the Yorktown community, Lakeland School District. Some are educators, some are law enforcement. Actually, one of them is a counselor at the summer stage. Some children volunteer in the community programs, such as volunteering at the John C. Hart Memorial Library, Haunted House, and such like that. We are fearful of the potential risks of this facility would pose to our families, the environment, our property values. The unnecessary risks include health hazards, environmental pollution, odors, noise, disturbances, decreased property values, and increased traffic congestion. On behalf of the 89 families, the wetlands, nature preserve, water supply lands, I plead to have the transfer station and garbage truck fleet parking project rejected by the town board when it is before you. As always, I appreciate your attention to this matter and continue to trust in your commitment to protect the interests of our community, and happy 4th.
Thanks. Anyone else for courtesy of the floor? Motion to close courtesy of the floor? Oh,
One more coming up. Juan.
Hello. Who are you? So my name is Juan. I live on East Main Street. And I went to the planning board meeting too, and I couldn't really believe how little information this developer had gathered. He left blank pages. I mean, I'm sure you saw it on the the information that he's supposed to give you to have this approved. There's many things that weren't addressed, like the traffic, the environmental assessment that he's supposed to be doing. Also, I forgot to mention last time that I was here that 2 cars actually hit my neighbors' homes last year on East Main Street within the 50-foot length of road where that lady was killed. So one person actually my neighbor had a car inside their living room. and the other one had a car inside their backyard. So just imagine adding another 300, 400 more cars every day. But I want to talk about, I want to follow up with Luciana's comment from last town board meeting. You were talking about feelings and about how words hurt people. And I agree with you 100%. And the intention behind words, is really what really affects us, and we should deal with everything with love for everything and everybody, right? The same love that he had when he went to, defend our country. And he was willing to kill and be killed for you so we could all be here. And so he has to hear you then say that you're not going to do anything when you have a building that's like 300 apartments and you're not going to do anything to defend him. When he defended you, he was willing to die for you so that you could be here. And speaking about love, it feels like the only love that we are willing to have is for money, because really it's the only thing that we're looking at, the economic development, things that are should be mentioned in a business environment. This is a town, and a town should be looked at from like a garden. You take care of a town. It's not a business, and if you want to make money, then open up a business. Not don't be here. And if you really want to look at it from an economic point of view, then clearing the stream is worth $55 million. I think that's a very fair point to make, because if you clear the stream, nobody would have any problems with their design septics and their design, the way that everything was meant to function. Everything would flow and everything would be fine. So clearing the stream is worth $55 million. You're saving your own money. Why wouldn't you just do it? Just do it. It's worth it. Just think about $55 million every time you think about the stream. And I also heard fear, and I don't know where it came from. You said something about transparency, about finances. I don't know where that came from, but at the last town board meeting, something about you guys don't want us to know what you spend the money on. So I think it's all like, or your own money or something like that. I forget what it was, but... Yeah, so I think that we should. I mean, I used to be a garbage man, and I don't care if they looked at what I spent my money on, and I don't know. I just think it's a little fishy, especially when the developer used to be a supervisor. So I mean, it doesn't feel right for us. So I also heard you say that you'll never take away. It's just a good point. You'll never take away the freedom of somebody to build on their own land, and I think that's very honorable. So I want to give you this. I don't know if you want to pass it around. And, it's a picture of a cake, like split in the middle, and it should be easy to understand how freedoms work now that it's 4th of July. That person took his part, but it affected others negatively, and he exercises freedom, but with an injustice to others. Freedoms can't be exercised as every individual wants without looking at injustices to others. Justice disappears when you harm others, and that's a bad example of, freedom, and that's how we shouldn't allow that kind of freedom in our town and for our people. And
thank you, Juan.
That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Anyone else for courtesy of the floor? Motion to close courtesy of the floor?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. I'd like to address a couple things on a broad spectrum first and foremost. Who a developer hires as their attorney is, once again, a right as an American. I don't discriminate against any attorney, whether I like him or not. And I don't think it's fair to say, oh, this attorney, that attorney, you know what? They're hired to present their best case for their client. I think everyone on the board understands that. Everyone knows that they have a job to do. That doesn't mean we have to agree with them. Also, Michael Grace is not a developer. He's the only person involved who was a supervisor here. Please be careful about personal attacks. As we talk about personal attacks, there was a comment made about the ethics code. Just so you know, we do supply the information to a board that looks at it, verifies it, keeps it locked up. I do not think it's appropriate, and I'll say this again and again, to have personal information put out on the internet like that. Not only does it open up a can of worms for fraud and for people with identity theft, it's just not appropriate. So, Juan, that was that point that we were talking about with the finances. Yeah, I know, you can't answer. That's okay. But I just want to make sure that that's understood. All of us, including our volunteer boards, have to submit an ethics form to the town. I think I was the first person to hand mine in this year, just because I happened to be sitting at my desk when it was delivered. And I filled it out and got it in. We all do it. They are looked at. If there are any discrepancies, it comes back. They submit a report. This person is not in compliance. So,
And let them know that Jim's a lawyer. And,
yes.
You know, this is not going on with light hands.
Right. So the head of our ethics board is an attorney who's worked for the court, who also was a council member back in the day, Jim Materano Sr., and he takes it extremely seriously, as do all of our members of the ethics board.
And honestly, to allude that we're doing something fishy, I mean, that it's contrary to your comment about, proceeding with love. So I'm sorry. I'm sorry you cannot respond. I apologize. But, I mean, in one breath you're saying one thing, and the other thing you're calling us fishy because we don't want our personal information out on the internet. We are in the political field, and we are subject to more attacks than, an average person is. I'm sorry. That's just the way it is. Unfortunately, I don't know. It's the life I chose, and I'm willing to deal with it, and that's fine. But
And we put 9/10 of our stuff out there.
Yeah.
We put a lot out there.
Well, I will also say there was a comment made about, what's in it for the board. I'll tell you what's in it for the board. They're making $25,000 a year.
This year it's 25.
Yes, it went up for working their asses off. And it might as well be excuse me, thank you. It might as well be a volunteer job at their point. Mine is a little more. Believe me, I did not want to be here. I have my own businesses I could be running, which is more important to me because that's my family's future. We do this because of a love of Yorktown. I bought my house here in '98. I lived with my mother-in-law for 4 years prior to that, and my mother-in-law has lived here since the 50s. My wife, my brother-in-laws were all born in Yorktown. My daughter was born in Yorktown. They all went through the school system. That's why we do it. So please, the next time on personal attacks, I will just stop that right then and there because it's not appropriate. If you think you have an issue, please come and talk to me. I will explain. I will show you my stuff. I don't care. But it's not appropriate.
But I want to just I want to piggyback on that because there's a lot of comments. Obviously, I'm sure everyone wants a response, and we're probably not going to get to all.
Well,
of them.
let me do my blanket, and then if I didn't
Okay.
answer anything, you could go.
Well, I don't want to do that. That's why. So give me a second. So I just want to say that when you guys said that you're going to put down with love, I do mean that, and I also feel that being in this place, if I disagree with you on something and agree with you on something, it's like I get a different version of you as well. And I want to make you understand, like, there's what you are asking for, and there's also what you want that's going to benefit you. Everybody has skin in this game, right? And at some point, we are here, not as your savings account, but to spend it in the way that these taxpayers deserve to be spent. And that's everyone. So when I hear things where it's like, today, you're on the line, yes, but I'm sure if we were in agreement of a project that I might be for or not for, that I would not be on the line. So the wishy-washy does go both ways. So just know that we hear you when you're against a project, and we also hear you when you're for a project. And notice that sometimes it comes out of the same mouth. So I just want to make that very clear, because I always feel like we're always on a chain if it's someone's personal experience of something, and that is
Thank
not
you.
our intent.
Thank you, Lou. So, just to finish up on that, just the fact that we are doing our job, looking at a project, not approving, and and I'm going to talk about the projects that were mentioned today, but just the fact that we're looking at it, doing our job, has changed the way some of the people in this room interact with us, which is Luciana's point.
Yeah.
If it was a project that everyone was gung-ho about, it would be all lovey-dovey. If not, we hear it, which is fine. You have that right. But I would once again say respect the same thing that brought us here, because we do hear this. We hear all of this. So let me talk a little bit about the projects. First, the transfer station. That is as of right. They are looking for variances, which we have no control over. It is in the code. It's been there since, I believe, 2013. Betty, you may know the person who brought that to the town and asked for it. Now, our problem, which is why we want to do some codification of our code with Listen 360, and Susan, it wasn't pulled. There were some questions, and it'll be read into the record tonight, because we are going to go ahead and we're going to look at our code, because there are some things that definitively are not defined properly. And one of the things, and it was brought up many times today, and it's the first point I made, and when I spoke about this a couple of weeks back, actually probably 6 weeks back, the first time I spoke about it, one of the things that's not defined is transfer station. It is for recycle, and it's a very blanket definition. We are going to look at it, and if it does not fit, and I'm not going to say whether I think it does or doesn't, because that's not the process, but if it does not fit, it'll be taken out of the code. We will not sterilize the property. We do not have that right. We cannot say, hey, I know you own that property, but we're going to take away every use so you can't do anything with it. Once again, not appropriate. It's un-American. And as people pointed out, people went to war, fought for our rights, whether they're property rights or not. Our human rights, our property rights, our civil rights have all been fought for. And, you know, once again, discourse is fine. Having an opinion is great. Having that conversation is what this is about. But please, at least afford us the ability to do our job and hear all sides of the story, because that's what we're here for. Because when you want something, I guarantee you don't want me to listen to the person who's against it only and not hear your opinion. Okay, and I think that looking through this room, I know a lot of you on a personal level. And I would hope that that has come through over my 8.5 years serving this town on the board. Because I really, really find it disgraceful to a degree when you say, I don't care what you think, I don't care what the other person thinks, I just want it my way. I think we need to hear things. So we'll talk about, well, the recycle I already really spoke about, so we'll jump over to the proposal to do buildings and sewers over on Navajo. So once again, there's a concept proposal. They did ask to be put into the overlay district. They would have to go through a public hearing and prove that the 8 criteria that need to be met are met in order to go in there. Mr. Chen, do you have a copy of those?
The eight factors?
Yeah.
Yes.
Can you do a brief hit of what they would need to prove to go into something?
Sure. So this is now an excerpt from section 300-251 of the town code, subsection B1. This sets forth the 8 factors. I'll just read it. The town board may authorize a project via resolution for review under the overlay district after considering the following factors. A, whether the project is consistent with the general goals of the comprehensive plan. B, whether the project will likely be detrimental to the character of its immediate neighboring properties or the district and town at large. C, whether the scope of the project will likely cause operational difficulties on the site that have potential to negatively affect the health, safety, and welfare of the public. D, whether the town's infrastructure is capable of servicing the project or that the impacts or deficiencies of the infrastructure can be appropriately mitigated. E, whether the project will eliminate a blight or potential blight within the district. F, whether the project is consistent with the goals and intent of the overlay district. G, whether the project is consistent with the requirements of the overlay district and does not exceed the limitations or requirements set forth therein. And H, whether the project is likely to contribute to the economic development of the district and the town at large.
What is the section again, in case anyone wants to go on? Because I do see some people scribbling notes.
Sure, it's section 300-251 of the town code, subsection B1.
All right. Thank you, David. So they have some criteria to meet. That's what they come before us. Now, if they get to the point where they can meet that, then they go to planning, which then opens up someone spoke about the reports not being complete. It's sort of, you don't bet on the horse till you know it's getting into the haddock to run. With this, you're not going to, if you're in someone building, you are not going to invest in a ton of reports unless you could get something done. They want to go in the overlay district, and there is an overlay district, as that was brought up, because that actually is something that was recommended back in the master plan of the town of Yorktown. It was formed in, I believe, 2020, and was actually heralded by the Business Council of Westchester as landmark legislation because it's something that helps control the entire project through the planning department, not through the political process, which I think is a really important distinction. It's a protection for the taxpayers because, you know what? There can be people who are influenced unduly, and I don't think that being totally in our hands is the right way to go with that. I also know that I have shortcomings in that area. I can't develop a plan. I can't read elevations. I don't understand 100% of the effects of groundwater and the mitigation process. That's why we have engineering. That's why we have planning. We let them take that project and rip it apart technically. Then it goes to different people. I know there was a question about our planning board, I'm sorry, our building inspector hiring a company to look at the plans because it's a very large project. And sometimes you need an extra set of eyes. And it's not uncommon. The last time we did it was with the Lowe's project because you want to make sure it's done right technically so you don't have the issues. There was a comment about the sewers and that sewers don't affect the flow of sewerage out of the
the septic systems.
Septics, thank you.
That was a
I'm
ridiculous,
thinking
that was a
cesspool.
ridiculous comment, by the way.
So I could tell you that all of the people that are replacing their septic tanks, waiting for sewers, up in Halleck's Mills, will tell you that when their septic is a problem, the sewage bubbles up, it comes out, and it does flow down through your neighborhoods, through your lakes, through your water. So I could tell you hands down that it's an improvement to our environment. I see Jen nodding her head because and you have septic and yours overflows. So, to say that sewer wouldn't help anyone, once again, this is where there are two sides to a story. I'll address. I will address. Trust me. So that is an issue that needs to be looked at. Now, I'll jump into that since we're talking about Osceola. I did walk that with Dan. We had 2 heavy storms that came afterwards, and this is the problem. You get hit by a storm, everything flows. We have pictures. We were down in that same culvert. Sergio knows. I showed him the pictures. Sergio, please. Sergio went. I have been to the property as well. I have gone through the walk. I have been to the cell phone site as well, the cell tower site. Doug, I know we met and walked through. I think that was when I was fighting my sciatica, so that was really a lot of fun. But we will go there. We will try to find the answers. They're not always evident, and like there was a whole area that we couldn't get in, and we're going to talk to Mohegan Fire Rescue about using a boat. There was a whole channel behind the Caremont building that we can't get into. So we'll take a boat in there. We'll look. It's not being. Jen, please. Sergio will talk.
I will.
Yeah. So, but we are trying to get the situations. They are not always visible, easy fixes. And then what's a problem right over here might be evacuated by something down the line or up the line. So we are looking at it holistically. Dan has pulled satellite maps for me, and we will keep going through that. To say that in one breath that everything's ignored, and then in the other breath to say, well, Sergio was there, and we know. We've been talking about it. We have one person who's been tasked with it, and we won't get everyone there. Once we close, please. We could talk offline. No, I can't. We can't. So this goes back to another thing, and I'll bring it up because Joanne, you made the comment about I don't want you to address. It's not that I don't want you to address. There are rules of order that have to be followed in Robert's Rules of Order, and I did, Jen. I answered 6 emails, but please, you could talk to me offline when we're done. Yes. So.
Can I address that, or you want me to wait?
You could address that, then I'll jump into it.
So basically, we've been. I mean, the one comment I think that Supervisor Lachman is referring to, where was that nothing's been done. I've been working on it with you guys for a few years now. And I was actually in the wetlands with John Landy, our building inspector, and we walked back there. We didn't really see anything that was significant as blockage. Now, when I was with you the other day, you saw me. I went down into the woods. You guys wouldn't come down with me. You guys. All right. So I went down there, and there is significant blockage on the Route 6 culvert, which is state-owned. You know that. We've been over this. And so we did send an email out. I reached out. I believe you reached out. We reached out to Giselle from DOT. She hasn't responded to me yet. She's usually very responsive. I'm probably thinking it's from the holidays. But we did notice that, you and I, that there was on the inlet side of the Route 6 culvert, it was very high. The water was very high. And on the outlet side, leading to the Hill Boulevard trash gate, which affects Jefferson Village as well, it was very low. So that tells us that at this point, this time, the blockage is a state issue, which we want to solve. I mean, but the way that stream flows, and you know this, part of it flows through Jefferson Valley Mall. That's their responsibility. We can't go in there and do it. There's so many roadblocks. What I did notice and what we did talk about was that there doesn't seem to be any kind of push of water coming from the mouth of the lake, of Lake Osceola. That would be up the stream, right? And so what we want to do is we want to go back out there with a boat. We've been out there with a boat before. Tom Diana did. I couldn't get there that day, but I was slated to go with him, but I couldn't make it. He did. And so we want to see what's going on up at the top of the lake, why the water is not really actually pushing down. But we do have to get the Route 6 culvert cleared out. And again, that's the state, and we're trying to get that cleared out. So we're working on that for you. Dave Paganelli also sent out a beaver guy, because we've noticed that there's a lot of beaver dams. I had an extensive conversation with Dave. And he told me that the beaver guy could actually tell you if the beavers are young by their craftsmanship on the beaver dams. So things that I've learned that really, hopefully I'll be on Jeopardy one day and that question will come up. But
the important issue is Dave did call DOT again today while I was with him at 4 o'clock this afternoon, down at his office, checking on our responses from DOT. So it's something that's being addressed. It's not, look, if it was as easy as pulling out a plug and everything would flow, it would be great. It's just not that easy. And Sergio spent a lot of years invested in this, back when Matt was in office. I've spent a lot of time. I've answered a lot of emails. One you missed about the DOT call, I know that you had responded. So, but I have tasked Sergio with it. He's following up on his tasks. And sure, I could address a town code. If we could get a response out of someone, we could charge them. You can't put a lien on something that's worthless. So we can't, well, that's why we're looking at town code. So we can't, Jen, please. Please, you asked me to answer, which I shouldn't be taking the question off the floor, but it is in here anyway to answer. I understand, that's why it's in here. So I could put a lien on property, but Jefferson Village is dealing with something very similar by the same developer. The property is worthless. It's actually a drain. There's no value to put a lien onto. So I could put a lien on a culvert, but unfortunately that culvert isn't worth anything. I'm not going to sell it for a profit. There's not going to be any tax money. So we're trying to track back the company and see if there are any other assets. But if the assets aren't in that company's name, there's nothing we could do. I can't. We are.
No,
we,
but hold
we
on,
have been.
hold on,
No,
excuse me.
Luciana, please.
Hold on,
Please.
hold on. What happens is we have to spend the tax money, right? So you suffer because the water comes back up from your septic, but other people,
No.
or wherever it comes from the
Like-
lake, however it comes into your house, it comes up. Okay, from the lake.
Please, please, no, everyone.
Wait, no, but-
no, please, please. I can have. Please.
Okay, but
Please.
it's not our money to be spent.
I understand that.
Okay,
Thank you.
so
that was
then we
my
gotta
next
clear up
point.
everybody's-
Please, please. All right. And any more comments from the floor, and I just will stop answering on the subject. So the issue with just clearing stuff that doesn't belong to us, that we know cannot be leaned upon, is a gift of public funds. I'm sure that anyone on Lake Osceola would be thrilled about it, but someone who lives in the highlands of Mohegan Lake would be, why are you spending my money on that? And we answer to all of the taxpayers. But that being said, once again, we are working on this issue. We want that whole lake area to be cleaned up and flow. I had an extensive conversation with Mr. Paganelli today, that's why I was there, about what we could do with DOT, what we can do on our own, and what is the border line of gift of public funds. Now, there may be some solutions to some of the areas based on where the water flows. We are exploring that, and today we spoke about it, and we need some legal advice. But it takes time. We will get our legal advice. We will keep working on the issue and hopefully get it resolved soon.
So the
So-
next steps,
so-
the next steps are going to be that, like I said, we're gonna get that Route 6 culvert cleared out, and then we're going to. I
boat.
spoke to the supervisor. We're gonna get a boat. We're gonna go see up on top at the mouth of the lake why it's just not flowing down and the water's not pushing through. That's where we're at this point, because if you looked at the trash gate, I was there about 3 months ago. I called Dave. The trash gate was clogged. He went out there. He unclogged it. The pictures I have of the trash gate, it looks perfect. We were there the other day together. And so all our waterways are clear, and that's why it's complicated. The waterway underneath Lee Boulevard, that's cleared out as well. The one through the mall, we have to contact the mall to do that. The one on Route 6 is the state. But we do want to go out and check why the water's just not flowing down and pushing through from the mouth of the lake, which is what we talked about. I know I walked with John Landy in the wetlands, trying to see if there was anything significant. And John Landy didn't think there was any significant blockage. So the next steps, Jen, we're going to get the state to come out there, and we're going to get in a boat. We're going to go flow down, see if there's any kind of dams or anything like that, see if we could get that water pushing. Okay?
So, all right.
Okay.
Thank you. All right. So to talk a little bit about a couple comments that were made. We cannot and will not gear any of our decision process on the ethnicity of people who may or may not move into the area. That is totally illegal, and we will not even look at that. I will say that in New York State, there is a housing shortage. Well, yeah, actually in the country, but specifically New York and the Northeast is extremely bad. One of the things that I will say is that I would rather look at the projects before New York State passes their home rule laws that will take away home rule from us. So you spoke about, someone spoke about the zoning and how the town board could stop something. Well, if it's in the zone, it's kind of hard, but that's why we're going to look at the definitions. If we lose home rule, meaning we don't have the right to have our zoning, the last proposal was that you could build a 5-story building on a 1-acre piece of property as of right if it's within 1 mile of a transportation stop, whether it be train or bus. So right, that's everywhere. So if you look at a 18-acre parcel, and maybe 11 acres are usable, that's 11 5-story buildings that could be built there. So it's a crazy proposal. I'm totally against us losing home rule, but that's effective of a lot of things. And Jay, you spoke about home rule with the National Telecommunications Act. That would go away too. They're having an issue because home rule with the battery storage. It would fall to New York State to dictate to each municipality, and that is not appropriate. So we're fighting that, but I would rather, that's one of the reasons we're doing our zone views, and we need to look at the projects in the right way that come through. Because if we lose that, we're not sitting here for hours having the discussion and having the discourse and the communicative discourse. So it's really an important aspect that I think we need to look at. I will also say, while we talk about the housing, there is, and John, could you just step up 1 minute, because there'll be a couple quick answers. There is a formula, I want to say Penn State, but I might be wrong. Rutgers, thank you. Rutgers University on the effects of
They're right,
students.
Yes.
So John, can you briefly explain that? I know I didn't ask you about it today, but we've spoken about this in the past.
Yeah, they do studies, and they continually update them and study how many school children actually end up in different types of housing. The ones that we know of that were studied when we were looking at the Jefferson Valley Overlay District as it stands now was one for townhomes was .028. The other one for apartment buildings was .09, I believe. So they're fairly low. Our consulting planner generally agreed with that, but also they have their own numbers that they keep in the projects that they work on. Some of their numbers were even lower than that, but all numbers were listed in that study. So, but basically it's multipliers by number of units dependent upon the type of apartment or multifamily unit that it is. Townhomes would be a little higher. Apartment building with smaller apartments and less amount of bedrooms would be lower. Style of living.
Right, thank you. So while we have that and we talk about the students, I just don't sit up in the office and chat with people all day. I've been doing some research on what the schools are saying about this. So I did ask for an appointment with Dr. Gagliardi, and I was asked to wait until after the 4th of July holidays to talk about Lakeland. I did have the privilege of talking with Dr. Hatter about it, and I had the question, how does it affect? And he said it's not really an easy formula, because he said if you get a lot of kids in one grade, it could affect big by having to hire more people. The thing that it wouldn't affect is what's called the tax levy. So the schools put out their budget, say, let's use an easy figure, it's $100,000, they could have a 1% increase, so it's $101,000 for their tax levy. That tax levy, similar to the pie chart that we have here, is broken up among the tax assessment. So the schools, unless they go to New York State and get approved for it, cannot break their tax levy at all. And if they do, they could get voted down on their budget. And if they get voted down twice on their budget, they're in a lot of trouble. So just because the costs of educating may go up for them, they do not have the leisure of saying, well, we'll just raise the taxes more. So it's sort of a misnomer. What they end up doing is having to do more with less. And that's where you hear the schools that are cutting band programs, cutting sports programs, cutting activities. That's not what we want. That's not the answer. We don't want that to happen to our schools. But it's a stark reality is that your school taxes are going to go up what they're going to go up regardless. The only thing, ironically, that will help lower your taxes is having more people share in the levy. Now, it does bring added expenses. I know we've spoken a couple times for this budget coming up that people have heard that we're going to look at the ambulance service, the advanced life service, and the tax on that, and the fact that since 1990 we haven't really changed the way we operate. You know, it's 34 years later. We need to look at it. There are going to be some hard decisions to make, but I heard a lot of my answers today with people being concerned about ambulances, being concerned about being able to get your medical care, being concerned about getting someplace. You know, that's huge, and we will need to look at that. And you know what? It's going to come at a cost. That's what services are, and that's why we live in an area where we pay higher taxes because we get a lot more cost out of it. But if we could share that load a little more, taxes do go down.
Ed, can I?
Yes,
I
John.
have the exact number here if you care
Okay.
to have it. It's for townhomes. The multiplier is 0.282. For apartments, it's 0.089. Okay.
So that's 0.089 students per
No.
uh,
Yeah, it's
per unit.
times. Yes, that's
Right.
correct. Yeah.
Depending on the unit. If it's a three bedroom, it's
So 100 units is approximately
No,
8.9
it's not dependent
students.
on the bedrooms. Dependent on the type of apartment.
Housing, right.
There's very minimal three-bedroom apartments.
All right. Now-
There might be three-bedroom townhouses.
Okay.
All right, thank you. So, you know, I still do feel that supply and demand will rule the market. There are doctors coming out in New York State. You know, and we hope, look, we're experiencing it on our end with insurance costs even are going up. You get less and pay more. Medicaid's going up. All of our services are going up, and we're getting less for it. And there has to be a breaking point. We hope that the governor listens to some of this. It's been argued many times on the floor, and it gets shut down. But the supply and demand for the housing, supply and demand for the stores, you know, there's a lot involved there, and I do not pretend to have every answer. And, you know, I could just give you the reasoning that I look at something with. Let me just...
Well, you're looking at that, Ed, before the immigration process started 3 years ago, the United States was short 4 to 5 million homes to start with. So that's before everybody started coming in. And whether it's 5 million, 10 million, or 15 million, there's additional people coming in. So there was a housing crisis but 3 years ago. That's before anybody, you know, started
coming
in.
through. And I will address...
It's a little, we have to deal with that.
Yeah.
But, you know, every town has to deal with that.
Right. And let me address the sanctuary county. There were 2 votes against, and I have said this. We got voted down. It was Tom, Diana, and myself, and we got voted down. And I did not think it was a good thing then. And it was not the housing. It was not the people coming in. It was and Tommy, being law enforcement, really believed this. It was a lack of communication between law enforcement. Our issues with immigration I don't think, or what's happening, I don't think it's the root causes of people. I think the root cause is the fact that there are no consequences to crime. And if you are in here illegally and a criminal, and ICE has a warrant for you, and you get arrested in Westchester, you cannot be deported. They cannot communicate. That's an issue. It's a safety issue. I have said it before. I will say it again. And I've had, I have my godson has Ghanaian residency, his citizenship, as well as U.S. because he was born in the U.S. His mother and father weren't. They were born in Ghana. And you know what? Immigration is a wonderful thing, done correctly. And when we have the issues that we're having, and it's not just immigrant crime, by the way, it's all crime. We'll peel it back a little bit. When we have a lack of law and order, when we have a lack of consequences, that's what's creating these issues. So, it's very multifaceted, but I have not changed my stance on this at all since day one. I will not change my stance on it because I feel in my heart, and I feel also knowing, talking to people from other countries that live here now, that this is a problem when you could do whatever you want. So, so I know that comment was made. I don't know if it was meant to highlight the fact that I did vote against it, but that's, what, I want or vote for the policy of walking from it. But, it is definitely an issue that needs to be addressed. Let's see.
Cell tower.
Cell tower,
Doug and
yes.
Karen want to go.
All right. Well, I'm trying to make Doug pay for that sciatica. He looks a little uncomfortable. Now, so with the cell tower, we've all looked at the site. We all understand the issue. And I think I told Doug back when I did that visit, which has to be a couple months ago, that I want not only the cell tower company coming back, because they could tell us whatever they want. I was born at night, but I wasn't born last night. So I understand that just like I said with the attorneys are hired to do a job, these guys are hired to do a job, and I understand that. I want the company that did the cell phone study to come in. And I also want to know what is a guarantee?
That was Cityscape.
Because Cityscape, yes. What is a guarantee? Which they might say there is no guarantee on anything except death and taxes. And what do we need to do to move, to look at different ways of handling this, whether it's shorter towers, less invasive. We tried to go through Somers. There's a conservation easement that we can't break, unfortunately. There's something, or is there a better spot in a less populated area? I don't know, but I can tell you that there's a huge safety issue, and that's still paramount. And with the storms that came through while I was in that area, when there was no cable service, and people have cable phones now, and you're relying on a cell phone that doesn't work for emergency services, it's that balance. It's that balance. We had conversations about climate change today. I think it was Howard. Last meeting we had someone say, we don't want the gas line, and we had someone else say, we don't want the solar. What are we going to do? Well, we could take down the trees that we're taking down and use them for firewood. That'll get us through 6 months maybe. But what are we going to burn the newspapers? We need to look. There's a counterpoint to every point. And like I said, I love having the conversation here. I think that it's great. I think that it's everyone's right. And honestly, when I walk in, I hear a couple of people say, oh, he's going to be like, oh, my God. I'm like, no, I'm excited about this. This is government at work. We the people. Yes, please, Ann.
So with the cell tower too, right?
So, with the cell tower, I don't even know if the governor signed off on it, to be honest with you. She hasn't. So if she does, they're still nowhere near the process yet. They would have to do wetlands permitting. They would have to do. I want them in for the study. I want to know what's there. So there's a lot more involved, and
we also want to bring Homeland Towers back, right?
Yeah, I said that. Yeah.
Oh, I thought.
No, Homeland and Cityscape.
Yeah, just to be clear, both.
Yeah. So we're nowhere near the gate yet, and I promise you that we will keep moving. It doesn't make sense now until we know there's an alienation to bring them in. But if there is a signed alienation by the governor, we will get in. We will then get them in, both Cityscape, Homeland, possibly even an outside consultant that can come in and discuss the different advances in technology, because it is important and it has changed. You know, maybe we get Elon to launch a satellite that just gives us satellite service through the town. So we do need to look at it and see. I'm sorry, let me just look through.
ATV, Paul Moskowitz.
Oh, thank you. Paul, the ATV law, I think, is scheduled the 16th?
Yep.
Coming back the 16th. It's been vetted out through some of the trail committee people. There was an independent group on electric bike and vehicles. Changes have been made. We brought them back at a meeting. We're going to bring it back and I believe vote on the 16th. Right? We could open that up and vote.
Yeah, it's a reconvene.
Yeah, reconvene. So that's already on the calendar and out for announcements.
John, 800 East Main, senior.
Which one?
800 East Main, John.
I'm looking for my notes. man.
Senior. Fifth one tonight.
Fifth one tonight.
Yeah,
Oh,
top
the
three.
recycling facility versus transfer code, the overlay district. Oh, AMS. So AMS is looking for a senior, 55 and over active community project, which, John, you could just nod your head, I believe, is decreased traffic levels from a regular family because they're not running out on all of the kid activities and all. That would be up on the old contractor registry property. The one thing that was mentioned a couple times, a question was asked, and it's important to know, there is a price that all of these contractors pay for improvements. I think $600,000 for road improvements for Underhill, for the Underhill Farms. Now, we chose to expand that because this is what the state said they needed, because it's a state road. But there was a little more we could do for safety, which we voted on, and we're going to use a little of our fund balance to take care of, which took away a tax break that they were going to get to pay it back. So, you know, there's some things that we want to invest in for the safety of our citizens, and it's very important. And that affects a lot of people. The Underhill traffic, the improvements that we approved are projected to increase the traffic flow 80%. So the traffic will move through much faster and will be much, much better for preventing backups and accidents, which the backups cause accidents. When they look at those projects, when planning looks at them, they will refer out, and that was another question, what are all these agencies? Michael, I believe that was yours. So they're agencies with an interest in the project. So these projects get referred out for comment. So they'll look at it, and depending on what their sphere of expertise is, they will present a comment section saying X, Y, and Z, for, against, this improvement would make it acceptable, and they'll take a look at it, and they'll say, this is what can be done to make it more feasible. So it's almost like a feasibility study through a different set of eyes. So this stuff goes out, and when it comes back, and I'll answer another question that came up from Susan about Walgreens. So Walgreens needed to improve the intersection down by Stony Street in order to make that project feasible. It was a state project, or it's a state road, which means that the town had to be the lead agency. So, and we had to bid the job out. So we put it out for bid, but not without collecting the money that was projected to cost. So we told Walgreens, we'll bid it out. We think this is going to be a $1.3 million job. They give us $1.3 million in an escrow account that we hold for the project. Well, the job didn't come in at 1.3, it came in less. So we have more money than the bid for the job to be done. So Walgreens pays for it. They give us the money. They've given us the money. And we will make sure that that is done appropriately. Dan, do you have any comments on that? Covered? Okay. Sorry, Dan, I didn't need you then today. And then, was there anything else you saw that I?
No, I think you got them all in.
All right, and I'll just emphasize again that, you know, every project that comes through, if it is feasible, it's feasible through mitigation, and that is really what the experts do, whether it's the traffic study, whether it's the environmental studies, and once again, we hire people for that too. We have a firm, I believe Barton and LaJudas we're using for a lot of our environmental, and we hire them, and that's paid for by the contractor. You know, someone mentioned, it might have been Jack, about, you know, the fact that doctors can't afford to open up here. It's getting to that point for everyone. You know, it's even small businesses. You get hit on labor, you get hit on MTA tax, you get hit on all of the different regulatory taxes that come through on you. So this is not an isolated thing. Our budget for New York State is higher than some countries. It's a little bit on the insane side, and some of it is neglected. You know, I look in the room, I see lots of veterans here today, and you know what? They have to fight and scrap for everything they get, and we give it away to other people that have never done anything for our country. There are issues that are at the heart of our whole system that need to be addressed. But please rest assured that your town board is going to sit here and try to get all of the facts, hear all of the arguments, and make the decision that they feel is best for the entire town. That is really what we're here for. I have said it many times. I've had people say to me, you don't want to look at that because you might lose some votes over that. My job is not to get voted back in. My job is to make the best decisions for the town to move forward with. And I really feel that in my heart, and I practice what I preach, trust me. And I will keep doing that, but I am always, always available for a phone call, someone stopping in the office, although I recommend calling first, because Lorraine will tell you, even if she puts you on my schedule, I might not look at it enough. She's in the back, but she's now texting me to remind me about meetings. So, you know, I get lost on a site visit, and I get back a little late. But the important thing is that we are here working for you. Sergio going into the streams, Patrick, you know, taking his time out, going over to the cell tower site with Sergio, Luciana, you know, working with Parks and Rec, with all the fields and all of the playgrounds and the pocket parks, and doing what we need to. We're here for you. We hear your voices. If you want to make a blanket statement at every meeting, that is fine. If you want to have one spokesperson, save yourself. I think we're going on, what time is it?
5 to 10.
10 o'clock.
So we're going on 2.5 hours. Thank you, Sarah. Yes. So I will end this part of the conversation. I hope I addressed everything you were looking for. If not, please reach out. You know, it's a lot. I understand the emotion. I understand the need to protect your interests, your property, your values, everything. We do understand it. And the town, of course. So we will keep working that. Thank you all. Good.
Yeah, I think we're good. So what's next, resolution?
All right, we're going to go to resolutions. Wait. You all have to stay for the resolutions, too. Tony, how are you? Hi, Kathleen. I will pass that on,
Thanks,
Charlie.
Charlie.
Thank you. We'll wait a minute for the voices to clear, and we'll hit resolutions. Thank you, Joanne.
Get home safe.
All right, from the building department. Thank
you.
you. Have a wonderful night. Get home safe. Tell Sonny I said hi. From the building department, authorize the building department to purchase one used Ford F-150 truck from Westchester Auto Exchange for a bid proposal amount of $48,850. Authorize the controller to process the following budget transfer for the building department. General fund fund balance $48,850 to building department vehicles $48,850. Authorize the supervisor enter into a professional consultant plan review services agreement with Labella Associates for plan review associated with the Underhill Farm project. Authorize the supervisor to enter into a professional consultant plan review services agreement with Labella Enterprises or Labella Associates for plan review associated with the Garden Lane apartment project, which is a project that's been approved for a hell of a lot of years. And finally moving. From the Highway Department, authorize the comptroller to release a street opening permit number 023-008 in the amount of $8,500 for work done at 2293 Haymaker Drive in Yorktown, New York, 10598. Extend the pavement marking bid for the Highway Department. Award bid for Stony Street interchange improvements. Whereas the town of Yorktown solicited bids for the Stony Street interchange improvement project, and whereas the bids opened on February 29th, 2024, and the results are summarized as follows. Giaffi Corp. $444,000, Sunup Construction $435,500, Contech Construction $357,000, Site Works Contracting Corp. $207,000. And therefore be resolved that the bid for Stony Street interchange improvements awarded to Site Work Contracting Corp. as a total bid price of $207,000. Authorize the comptroller to release sewer permit application number 7528 in the amount of $350 to CC Well Pumps P&H. Authorize the comptroller to release Safeco Insurance Company of America bond number 6659889 in the amount of $238,065, and Travelers Casualty and Surety Company of America subdivision bond number 105339326 in the amount of $7,500 to J.P. Morgan Chase Bank. Authorize the comptroller to release erosion control bond in the amount of $500 to Laura Van Sice. Authorize the comptroller to refund an overpayment of water account number 20245 in the amount of $661.02. From the Nutrition Center, authorize the supervisor to sign an agreement with Westchester County Department of Senior Programs and Services for 3B Transportation to receive funding from the county in the amount of $10,113. From the Town Clerk's Office, authorize the Town Clerk to advertise a public hearing to amend Chapter 300 by adding pet care facility legislation for August 8th, 2024. From the Water Department, authorize the comptroller to process the following budget transfer for the Water Department. And that's special projects for the purchase of water main materials and miscellaneous supplies, $40,000. Award the bid for water maintenance materials for the Water Department as laid out here, and the water maintenance materials bid is hereby awarded to the lowest bidders for each of the items as enumerated in the agenda. 2 to read in. Authorize the supervisor to sign an agreement with General Code to conduct a recodification for a fee not to exceed $15,995. Whereas the town has used General Code for all of its town code updates, supplements, software programs, and codifications since the program was instituted in 1991, And whereas a recodification of the town code is needed and has not been done since 1998, and whereas a review would check for inconsistencies within the town code chapters as well as with state laws and would take approximately 18 months to complete, now therefore be it resolved that the supervisor is authorized to sign an agreement with General Code to conduct a recodification of the code of the town of Yorktown for a fee not to exceed $15,995. And that, just so you know, that will be done in chunks. We will not wait for 18 months. As sections get done by priority, we will bring them out. And then resolve, the controller is authorized to process the following budget transfer from A 1002, general fund balance, $15,995, to A 1410.421.1, town clerk computer support software, $15,995, for the payment to General Code for the recodification of the code of the town of Yorktown for a fee not to exceed $15,995. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And then motion to adjourn the meeting?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Good night, Yorktown. Thank you very much.